Tonight we are talking about emotional intelligence for men, talking about the socialization around emotions in men, and then also how do we hold space for them. So if you know anybody that needs to be a part of this class, please go ahead and share this with them. I'll wait to get into more details or my announcement when some more of you guys show up. So happy Thursday. How was everybody's class? This is our last official lesson for EQ 101. If you guys want to continue to work with me, you will have to join my membership community. And this summer, we are having a self-aware summer. So this is the time where we are going to pause and consider ourselves. A lot of us get so caught up in the day-to-day and our work, being a parent, being a spouse. A lot of us get so caught up in the day-to-day and our work, being a parent, being a spouse. We're going to identify your areas of growth, and we are going to walk through what I am calling the 4 chambers of emotional connection. So the first chamber is awareness, so raising your self-awareness, understanding what your emotions are telling you. The second chamber is expression, so learning how to communicate and express your emotions. The third one is about safety, and so creating emotionally safe relationships. And then the third one is about intimacy. And so while we will recover some of the topics that we have covered during this EQ 101, in the summer program, we are going to get a lot deeper. So whereas here, I kind of give you guys 3 things to do this or 4 things for that, or just kind of give you in theory. In the self-aware summer, I'm really getting in your business, right? It's not just, we're going to actually talk about application. So, right, we'll still have the journal prompts. Actually, you'll have journal prompts every day in the self-aware summer, and weekly class, but it's going to get a lot more in your business. Everything is going to be on Zoom, so I can actually talk to you and ask follow-up questions and get all in your business. So I hope that you would join my membership community. Because you guys waited, now the membership community is $49 a month. But there's still weekly classes, and then there will be guided sessions /$9 a month. But there's still weekly classes, and then there will be guided sessions if you have questions, let me know. The link is in my bio. If you want more details about what we're doing this summer, the link is in my bio. If you have any other questions, of course, feel free to send me a DM. So that's that. Now, tonight, we are talking about emotional intelligence for men. I had a thingy up here. Hold on, let me see if I can get it back. I had like the thing that said it, what we were talking about at the top, but I don't know. I don't know how to get it back. But anyway, we are talking about emotional intelligence for men. We are going to talk about kind of how men have been socialized when it comes to emotions. We are going to debunk some myths. We are going to debunk some myths. When it comes to emotions, we are going to debunk some myths. We are going to debunk some myths to start to pay more attention to their emotions. And then I am going to talk to the women. And talk about how we create space for men and their emotions and where they are in their journey with emotional intelligence. I don't even see green screen. I had it where yeah, I don't even see green screen. Oh, okay, here, I found it. Yeah, I don't even see green screen. Oh, okay, here, I found it. It's still not there. Okay, there it is. But now my hair in the way. Community members, I know I did not send you the handout, but I have it. I'll send it as soon as class is over. I promise. Okay. I have to get my notes off my phone because I did not have time to print my outline. So let me get my outline out. So here's the thing, right? Many people believe that men don't feel as deeply as women, but that's not true. Men experience emotions at the same rate and the same depth as women. Right. So today we're going to talk about rewriting that narrative. And then, like I said, how do we provide a debunk? I'm going to give you 3. The first myth that I want to debunk: men are less emotional. Right. We hear, right? Men are logical, women are emotional. It's not true. If you guys were here for like the first few classes, I showed you the picture of the brain and I showed you why it is not true. And it's science behind it, right? Science shows that men feel emotions just the same way that women do, right? It's just socialized differently. The second myth: we like to believe that men don't care. But that's because, again, in terms of how they're socialized, men are socialized to not care, right? They are socialized to enjoy multiple women. Again, not necessarily true that they don't care as much. Then the last one, that men, I've heard that people say that men are emotionally unavailable, like naturally, like they are just born unavailable. Again, it's not true. They just don't have the space. Born unavailable. Again, it's not true. They just don't have the space that is born unavailable. Again, it's not true. They just don't have the space that is the same to express their emotions, to explore emotions. And a lot of time, right? And that's because, let me ask this: are there any men here? If you are a man, answer this for me, because I want to talk about how social conditioning has played a part in the relationship between men and emotions. So if you are a man, can your emotions were handled as a child? I don't know if there are any men here. I feel like there are usually a few here. But if you are a man, can you tell me what you've been taught about emotions? And if not, if you are a woman, give me your honest opinion about emotions. And if not, if you are a woman, give me your honest opinion about men and emotions. Safe space so you could be as honest as possible. Like, we're not going to judge you here because you're here to learn. So either men, tell us what you have learned about emotions, or women, tell us how you feel about men and emotions and how when they express their emotions. Never talk about it and pretend everything is fine. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. And so how do you feel about that, Ashley? Some men are very emotional and they show it. They feel like it's weakness to show emotions. Some hide their emotions. Yep. So, and that's all of that is here, right? So social conditioning, men are often taught, right? Man up, stop crying. Big boys don't cry, right? Or they suppress most emotions unless it's socially acceptable. So they suppress most emotions unless it's socially acceptable. So really the only emotion that is socially acceptable for men is anger. And so anger is sometimes how some men express everything that they're feeling, even if it's sadness, even if it's fear, right? Because if you are angry and you are being aggressive, that is okay for a man to do. right? As a mom of a 19-year-old son, I try to encourage him to show his emotions. And that's true. And so emotional expression is oftentimes for men tied to either shame, weakness, like many of you said, or like a loss of masculinity, right? There are times where men cry and somebody say, stop acting like a bee, right? And it's just where we are, but we're working on getting out of that. Yep. Growing up, I remember boys were criticized for crying. I've heard men being told man up or be, yep, absolutely. And this is what has contributed to where we are in terms of men and emotions. But it is not a healthy dynamic. It's not a healthy dynamic. And so what is really happening, men often lack the emotional vocabulary. Right? So it's not that they are less emotional, they lack the vocabulary. And the example I always give is, if I am sick and I go to the doctors and they say, what are your symptoms or what's wrong? Just because I cannot articulate what is going on with my body, that doesn't make me any less sick. Right? If I had cancer, God forbid, but I can't tell the doctor, oh, this hurts or that hurts, that doesn't make the cancer go away. Right? Same thing with men and emotions, right? They still experience all the same emotions that every human does. They just have not been able to explore what those are, right? Think about it. For girls, the way that we are socialized from a young age, as soon as we get hurt, oh my God, are you okay? What's wrong? That's not the same response that boys get, right? Suck it up. Don't cry, right? And so if you're telling them to suppress their emotions from a young age, they never get the opportunity to explore what that is about. Whereas their emotions from a young age, they never get the opportunity to explore what that is about. Whereas for girls or for women, we do get that opportunity, right? When we are heartbroken, we can sit with that, and they tell us to let us be sad. A boy, you're not supposed to be heartbroken. You're supposed to move on to the next one real quick, fast, and in a hurry. Okay. So it's not that they're less emotional. They lack the emotional vocabulary. The other thing that could actually be going on is that some men are dealing with an emotional overload, right? And when you are overloaded, think about when you're overwhelmed. That could lead to anger. That could lead to you shutting down. That could lead to any type of way, right? Men have to put up with a lot, right? There are demands from the outside world. There are demands from maybe your kids. There are demands from your partner. And so if I always have to suppress it, if I've been taught to suppress how I feel from a young age, right? By the time I'm 20, I'm overwhelmed. But really, right now, think about these grown people that's 30, 40, 50, 60 that have been suppressing their emotions this whole time. And suppressing your emotions don't make them go away. It makes them heavier, and it makes them come out in other ways. Okay. And then the other thing that's really going on is men, and I see this a lot, men don't know that they are allowed to set boundaries, right? Or speak up for themselves, right? They happy wife, happy life, which is ridiculous, right? But how you feel doesn't matter. I've had conversations with men and like about their relationships, and I've asked them like, well, what about what you want? I've had conversations with men and like about their relationships, and I've asked them like, well, what about what you want? And I never thought about what it is that I want. And I truly believe that both partners should be happy in a relationship. Right? I don't support one-sided relationships, right? So both partners' needs should be met on every level. But I find it often that men don't know what it is they want or need, or what really matters, right? Beyond the physical. Sometimes they don't know. Or they don't know that it's okay to say no, or whatever boundary it is that they need, right? Or to express themselves. And sometimes it's not they don't know that they can, because sometimes it is not safe for them. And we're going to come back to that in a second. So the other thing that I would want to say is this whole dichotomy of men being more logical and women being more emotional, that also is not true. Sometimes it gives women a pass, right? If women believe that they are naturally more emotional, I have seen it come out where I'm a woman, I can't help it, right? As if they cannot help how they express their emotions. But we all know, because you guys have been in my class and you've been here this is what, week 15. You guys know that emotional regulation is a big part of emotional intelligence. And so you can help it. But for those that are not in my class and they want to fall back on this, I'm a woman, I'm emotional, it's an excuse for them to not have to regulate their emotions. And that is dangerous. Okay. I think the other thing is we all want, not I'm just a girl. Yeah, a girl that better know how to regulate her emotions, Ty. So the other thing is, right, we all want our partner to listen to us. But I don't believe that they can truly empathize with us if we don't also hold space for their emotions, right? Especially if they have never been in a position where they can explore their own emotions. There's no way they're going to be able to understand what it is that you are going through. Okay, so we have to change this narrative. Men experience emotions at the same rate and at the same depth that women do. Sharing your emotions or experiencing emotion does not make you less of a man. It actually makes you smarter. Because I tell you guys all the time that emotions are messengers. And so if you learn harder, because I tell you guys all the time that emotions are messengers. And so if you learn how to listen and is that you are feeling, right, it's trying to tell you something. Your relationships depend on you being emotionally intelligent, right? If you are, it will help you be more intimate with your partner, with your children. Right? I think that's the big one. I see a lot of men really start to think about it or reframe their thinking around emotions when they have kids. Right? And that's great, but not every man is going to have kids, and so you also deserve to have that tool set with you, because at the very least, it's a release. Like I said, you have so many demands on you from the world, one, right? From work, from your partner, from your kids, from maybe your parents, right? There is a lot on you. And the longer you hold on to this, the heavier it gets. It doesn't go away, and it just shows up in other areas, right? In ways that you may not even recognize that are detrimental to you and or your relationships. Okay. Let me see. Why else should you care about raising your emotional intelligence? Let me go back to my notes. Are you guys with me? Tell me what you think. You're kind of quiet today. The other thing is emotional intelligence is not just for romantic relationships. It's actually taught usually in the workplace. And when you are emotionally intelligent, when you know how to be empathetic and read people, it also helps you at work. I guess depending on the type of work that you do. But if you are the type that has to negotiate, emotional intelligence is a great skill set for that. Emotional intelligence is a great skill set for that. Right? How to negotiate, how to, if you are in any type of customer service or client management, right? All of this is important for those types of things. Yeah, you want a man to need and show. Yeah, we all need that, right? To feel secure in a relationship. And so let me talk to the like what things that they can be doing to do better with this area, right? First is to acknowledge that you have emotions, and having emotions doesn't make you any less of a man. It makes you human, right? It's not a weakness. Emotions are information, and they're trying to tell you something. So you got to listen up. So I think some things that I got 4 things that you can kind of start doing right now if you want to. 4 things to do for men to start raising their emotional intelligence. 1, I would say, start building your emotional vocabulary, right? I've worked with men, and the only thing that they could say, like we were processing something that happened in the marriage, and the only thing that he could say was, I feel played. But that's not very helpful. That's very ambiguous. What does feeling played mean, right? Like, it doesn't, do you feel, right, disappointed? Do you feel betrayed? Like, we need to put a name with it, not something like, I feel played, right? So I would say that's the first thing, is to start working on your emotional vocabulary. If you need to use a wheel of emotions, I've shown you guys that week after week, or even just start reflecting. Even if you're not into journaling, because I don't know if you like to do a brain dump at the end of the day, but just take 5-10 minutes at the end of the day when you're laying in bed or before you get up, and check in with yourself, right? How am I feeling? What was that? What did I experience today? Were there any shifts in my emotions, and when? What happened before that, right? That's how you also learn your triggers, right? So start to identify or start building your emotional vocabulary. Number 2, validate your own emotions, right? You don't need permission to feel it. It matters. My emotions are valid, right? It all starts with you, right? Because if you are already shaky or on the fence about, your emotions, you can't, it's a better chance that the other person also will not respect your emotions, right? Sometimes you have a good partner or a good whomever you're talking to that will still hold space for you and help validate them. But in those moments where you don't have somebody else to validate, you have to make sure that you are able to validate your emotions for yourself. Another thing that you can do, practice expressing your needs or discomfort, right? Start small. I feel overwhelmed. I'm frustrated. I feel stuck, even though it's not an emotion. That hurt my feelings, right? Start small. And maybe you just need to sit and talk and work through it, but you got to start somewhere. I didn't like that. I'm offended, right? Just start somewhere. And then the other thing, just remember that expressing your emotions is not a weakness. It's actually a strength. Now for the ladies, how do you support the men in your life that are trying to raise their emotional intelligence and become better? There's a few things that you can do. Number 1, don't mock or minimize their emotions. You're being too sensitive. You acting like a B. Minimize their emotions. You're being too sensitive. You acting like a B. Because you also don't want him to do that to you, right? You have to think about how it would feel to you. They're human. Just because they're a man doesn't mean that it's going to hurt any less. Don't expect him to always be strong or emotionally available for you if you don't hold that same space for him. Replace interrogation with curiosity. So instead of asking questions, what'd you do this for? Who was you with? Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Help me understand, right? Because when you are interrogating, somebody's going to get defensive and likely shut down. Right? And likely shut down. You want to foster dialogue and communication. And so you have to be more inquisitive as opposed to interrogating them. So you have to be more inquisitive as opposed to interrogating them. Right? Why are you acting like that? Makes them defend their position versus why, what are you feeling right now? Is asking them, what they're feeling. Because if they don't have the emotional vocabulary, why are you acting like that? They might not know. Hey, say hi, Ben. Larry, why are you acting like that? They might not know. Hey, say hi, Ben. Right. Offer reassurance way. Right. I know sometimes been and help and we want to solve things for them, but sometimes the best thing you can do is to let them figure it out on their own. Right. I know that we mean well, but ask them, what can I do for you right now? How can I help you in this situation? And if they say, I just need some space, or then give them some space. Really listen to what they say. Don't insist on helping if they don't want that type of help. Right? Just let them know that, hey, I'm here for you and helping if they don't want that type of help. Right? Just let them know that, hey, I'm here for you if and when you need. And then be patient, right? It's not easy. This is not something that they are going to, he might not spill his guts tomorrow. It may take some time, right? For him to realize that he can talk to you, right? If you guys are having a conversation about the way that he shares, I would ask, what can I do to make you feel more comfortable sharing with me? Or another question you need to ask, do I do anything to make you feel like you can't share with me? Is there anything that you've been wanting to tell me that you haven't? Is there anything that you've been wanting to tell me that you haven't? Other thing, you may do something to make them feel like they can't share without you even recognizing. Right. I've told y'all the story about my mom, like when I told her about my little 6th grade boyfriend, and she said, you don't need a boyfriend. And I never told her anything else. And I'm on my almost 37 years old, never told her anything else. Right. I'm sure she didn't know that's what was going to happen. I probably didn't need a boyfriend in 6th grade. What she said was probably true. Right. So she probably is not aware that that is the reason I have never told her anything else in my life. Right. So there may be that you don't realize is preventing him from sharing with you. Maybe something, an emotional trigger that he is not aware of, right? Maybe something that reminds him of something that happened in childhood, right? You just don't know. So I would ask, is there anything that I am doing that makes you feel like you can't talk to me? The other thing I would add, of course, is not throwing things up in their face, right? If they share something with you, it needs to stay with you, right? It needs to be confidential. You need to be their confidant. Do not wait till you are in an argument and throw it back in their face. That's not cool. And once that trust is broken, somebody like me, it's hard to repair that. Y'all real quiet today. Let me see what else I got. I think that's mostly what I had. Give me your thoughts, comments. I would love to hear from the men that are here. And I will also say this. I would love to hear from the men that are here. And I will also say this. Emotional intelligence, and the man was very emotionally intelligent. So I will also say that, like, I will give credit that I have very often seen that the man is the more emotionally intelligent one in a relationship. So I don't want you to think that this is universal. Of course not. And the same thing would apply to, I'm talking about men, but anybody that lacks the emotional intelligence, not given permission to feel and express their emotions growing up. I've worked with women. I remember one client of mine, she is a lawyer. And same thing, her parents told her, or her mom told her growing up, right? You don't have time to cry. Nobody wants to hear you complain about stuff. And then put a lawyer brain on top of that. So she tries to analyze everything. And she was 50 something years old, and we would have to bring out the emotional will. Bring out the emotional will for her to tell me what she was experiencing and how she was feeling. All right. So again, emotions are not assigned to one gender or the other. Right. And I think even me, right, part of what I teach, a lot of what I teach comes from my own personal journey, right? I never wanted to be one of those emotional women. And right, again, put the lawyer brain on top of it. I do still try to make everything make sense. I try to think everything through logically until I was experiencing something that the emotions were so big that I couldn't. Right? And that's when I was like, whoa, I used to think I was a robot. Like, I emotions, what? Like, I would love people, but I don't got time to be sad. I don't got time. And it wasn't even about suppressing it. For me, it was what's the problem? All right, let me fix it. I don't care about being sad. Let me hurry up and fix it because I don't want to until again, I experienced something that was so overwhelming that thinking through it, my problem solving skills didn't work. And that's the first time I had to admit that I had emotions and maybe I was a little bit of a crybaby. And now I cry all the time. Not all the time. I'm exaggerating. But crying is part of my self-care routine. Makes me feel good. It's a nice release. A nice release. So what are you guys going to do to help change the narrative about men and emotions? Men, if there's any men in here still, what would make you feel comfortable opening up to your woman? Maybe you can help us with that. Maybe you can help us with that. I don't know if there are any still here. Right? We're here to learn. And so if you have anything that has helped you particularly feel comfortable opening up in a relationship, share that with us, please. It might be something that we need to try in our relationships. I don't know if there are any more men here. If not, ladies, if you feel like you do a good job creating a safe space, have a debated time to vent. So you said, okay, I got a timer for 25 minutes and you can say whatever you want to say. Is that what you're saying? Bentley, why are you just standing on me like this? Ladies, if you are, yeah, okay. So that's a good idea. And then after the time is up, does the person respond at all, or you just needed to get it out? A truly open heart. What does that look like? Because I think there are women that would say they have an open heart, but what does that open heart look like, James? Like, and do you kind of establish that? And so I think that could possibly work in terms of, like, setting a timer to let him say whatever he wants to say. My only hesitation with that is if there are multiple things brought up, each issue won't get addressed because they won't, unless they like write down notes, but you might miss talking about something that is important if you bring everything up at one time. But if that made you feel safe and that, and, that worked for you, I'm just curious as to if they responded or if they, just had to listen to what you said and, take it on the chin. The other person gets 25 minutes also. Is there 25 minutes in response to you, or again, they could just say whatever they want to say too? Thank you. Her heart saved me. She looked deeper. Okay. So both. Okay. Any other I can give you guys some ideas of what I do too. Okay, allow me to share at your own speed, be supportive and accepting, give me time to learn how to trust. Okay. Like a debate team. Oh, okay. That's interesting. See, I'm not quick on my feet. I would need time to prepare. So Ashley, you said you asked if he would like to share or be attentive to him when he talks, when you address everything one at a time. He told me it was when you address everything at one time. He said it was too much. He didn't know what was more important to address. Yeah, see, so that's a good point. So this is why I typically tell people to address one issue at a time. Right? Even if the other person brings up another issue, could very well be valid. But if we jump from issue to issue to issue, we don't get to a resolution. Remember, 2 weeks ago, we talked about, the importance of actually getting to a resolution so you can stop having the same arguments over and over again. So that's my only hesitation with the dumping, because we can't really get through everything. Allow me to share my own space. Okay. We can't really get through everything. Allow me to share my own space. Okay. I think something that you can do in the beginning, when you are first getting to know somebody, asking even just basic question like, how was your day? And truly listening. Or when they share something about their past, right? Make sure that you are engaged in the conversation, right? Make sure you are being empathetic. If something bad, I'm sorry that happened to you. Go in the rage room to get anger out. But what that says there, stay there. I like that. These are some creative ways. These are definitely creative ways. And I hope that we continue to create space for men and emotions, because it doesn't make you weak. Don't get frustrated by the baby steps when he's learning how to talk. Yep, agreed. Right? That was what I was saying about being patient. And also know that it's not linear. He may be able to share about this experience, but the next experience he might have trouble. But yeah, being patient and offering support. I think being supportive is the only thing that you can do. But I will say on the other end of that spectrum, when you withhold from your partner, when you don't open up to your partner, when you don't share with your partner, the adverse effect of that is making her feel like she's not a part of this, right? That you don't trust her. All right, so two things can be true at once. So yes, you can be, and I think the other thing sometimes, I think the shutting down and the not sharing and the not being vulnerable is a form of protection, right? Maybe you have shared in the past and it got thrown in your face, and so you're like, I'm not doing that again. All right, so it's not that you don't want to share with her, it's that in your brain is how you keep yourself protected, which can be true. But at the same time, it can also make her feel isolated and alienated, which is not necessarily conducive or helpful to a relationship, especially if you guys are still, if you're building. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that you have to, spill your guts all at once. Like you said, of course, it's baby steps, but as long as you are making some type of steps, but just recognize what the adverse effect or I guess it's the adverse effect. But just think about what that is also doing to your partner, right? Even though they are trying to be supportive, even if they are being supportive, right? It can still affect them in a way. And again, they have every right to feel that way, and you both feel the way that you do. And so there may come a time where there has to be some type of compromise. Writing in a journal, I like that too, right? And even if you aren't big on writing in a journal, maybe doing a voice note or a voice recording or just doing a brain dump at the end of the day, just to get everything out. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That's all I have for you guys today. Any other questions, comments? You like coloring and drawing? That's so cute. I hate it, but that's cute. It'll give you like time to cool off and all of that. That's cute. Anything else to add to the conversation? I feel like the people that need the conversation the most are probably not here, but that's how it always goes. Just so long as you guys are continuing to hold space. And so I will say this, because we talked about this on Tuesday in the membership community. And I was asking them the same question I asked the ladies in the beginning, like, how do you feel when men express their emotions? And so I'll share kind of some of the stuff that we talked about on Tuesday. A lot of us said, because I'll throw me in this, a lot of us said, we're okay with men expressing their emotions up to a certain point. And I think that is kind of natural. I think it also depends on what you are sharing. Like I've heard men say, like, you can't tell your woman everything. And that might be true. Because I think sometimes when you share certain information, it can, again, there's an adverse effect. And so you just have to use your discernment about what to share with who. That's just like with anything, right? You have friends that you talk to about certain things, right? Maybe you have to know your partner. Maybe you can't talk to your partner about any and everything, right? But as long as you are validating your emotions yourself, and hopefully you have some type of outlet, whether it's therapy, whether it is a homeboy, if you feel like it's not your partner, I would hope that it could be, you could talk to your partner about everything. But sometimes that's not realistic. Somebody said, yeah, not too much. I can't stand a man that stays in his feelings, right? And that's because they don't know how to process them. They don't know how to, right? They haven't taken my class to know how to know what their emotions are trying to tell them, but they're going to go back and watch my classes now. And yeah, so for me, I will be honest, I am okay with holding space. I've realized that I'm not so good of holding space once I figure out what the issue is. All right. Once I understand what's wrong and I make a suggestion, or we work together to come up with a suggestion or like a resolution of it, I don't want to hear about it anymore. And that's not right. I will say, I admit that is not right, because I can't rush your emotions, right? Your emotions are your emotions. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. I used this example on Tuesday. I met this guy. We were supposed to go to brunch. That was like our first date. It just so happened the night before, I got into a car accident. I was okay though, but like a little banged up. And he offered to take me to urgent care. We went to urgent care. We went to brunch. My back started to hurt. And I'm like, okay, I got to go home. Like, we finished brunch or whatever. I did not invite him in. This is also still the first date. The only reason I let you pick me up is because I was in a car accident last night. Okay. So I didn't invite him in. Remember that. The next day, or maybe like 2 days late. No, it must have been the next day. At that time, I was the president of a wine club. And so my wine club came over for our monthly event. And then I found out that the event I was leaving when I got into the car accident, I got COVID from that event. So I didn't even come home for Christmas, whatever year that was. And I remember him calling me like right before Christmas, and he was like pissed off. And I'm like, what's going on? And so he was upset that he couldn't see me. I mean, I got COVID, like I didn't catch COVID on purpose. And so like, but he was just bouncing around and he was saying like, I didn't invite him in. Well, I'm both going to invite you in my house. That's crazy. I didn't invite him to my wine club. Who was there? Was it men there? So like, he's like just vomiting, right? And I don't even get to see you before I leave, wherever he was from. I don't remember. And I said, so all this is because you didn't get to see me before you went home? And he said, yeah. I said, you could have just said that. Like, I'm going to miss you. I'm disappointed that I didn't get to see you. Instead, he was like, in my opinion, I called it throwing a temper tantrum. And so then I asked him, I said, what could I have done differently? Because we were going back and forth, and I'm just like, what could I have done differently? I don't know. And he said nothing. So what are we going back and forth about? And so in that situation, then I was like over it. Like, there was nothing I could have done differently. You are still allowed to feel however you feel about it. But I like the extra, I have to work on that. I call it when they throw temper tantrums. That's what I call it. And so I think, again, it goes back to not being able to express emotions in a healthy way, and just maybe it's being like overwhelming and not being able to, but yeah, if I'm being honest with you guys, that is something that I need to work on, holding more space and allowing their emotions to run their course, because I know that you can't flip your emotions off, and yeah, I got to do a better job at it. But that's just me. I might be the only one that needs to work on something like that. That's really all I got for you guys today. Any questions, comments? Like I said, this is the last official class for EQ 101. Next week will just be a conversation or Q&A or something along those lines. Emotional intelligence. Yeah, if you would like to continue, you will have to join us in the membership community over here. This summer, we're having a self-aware summer where we are diving deeper into these concepts of emotional intelligence, your emotions, knowing what your emotions are telling you. What else? How to express what you're feeling in a healthy way, how to create healthy relationships and boundaries. And then, right, how to create that intimacy and vulnerability. Any questions? Any questions for me before we get out of here? No questions? Was this helpful? Did y'all learn anything? Oh, I'm glad that I taught it too. I'm glad I decided to jump on the trend and teach EQ 101. It's been a long time. This is week number 15. I didn't think I was gonna make it. I got commitment issues. Not really. I'm not very consistent though. This might be like the first time I've actually committed to something this long. But I'm so glad that you guys have joined me for EQ 101. All right. I love to see you in the community. So we are having like a whole kickoff celebration. So you got to bring a drink if you drink. You can bring cranberry juice if you want. But on June 1st is the kickoff celebration. So we are going to toast. And I'm going to tell you more about what you can expect this summer. And there'll be like, I'm thinking about like prizes, like for engagement, like the more you do, like you can rack up points, but I'm still working on that part. But yeah, so June 1st is the Cheers kickoff celebration for the self-aware summer. I hope you guys join me. But if not, I will see you guys around. Like I said, I am not teaching in Hillman Talk University for the summer. I don't know about the fall. I gotta pray about it. Because this was a lot for 15 weeks. So yeah, that is all I have for you guys. I will see you next week. So what do you guys want to do next week? I'll actually be in Florida, but I can still like hop on. Should we just have a conversation? Should we do Q&A? Like what? I'm not preparing is the wine club still open? So no, that wine club that I was a part of is not still open. I am in another wine club, and they have chapters all over. I don't know where you are located. So if you are interested in wine, look at the Hue Society. Where are you located? So the Hue Society is my current wine club. This was a different club than back then. And we are actually having a wine fest, it's called Wine and Culture Fest, July 17th through the 20th in the DC area. And I actually will be on a panel on women and wine, women, wine, and wellness. They asked me to be on a panel, but I was going to be there anyway. It's a great time if you are in the DC area. If you like wine, you want to learn more about wine, Wine and Culture Fest. So they just announced that Taraji P. Henson will be there. Because, she just came out with a wine. So she will be there. Yeah. Q&A, a conversation, and open the space for questions. Okay, a little bit of both. Got it. So I will kind of have some questions in advance in case you guys don't have any, or at least to get the conversation going. Like I said, I'll be in Florida, but that's okay. I'll jump on for you guys next Thursday. We don't have anything planned, but I'll jump on and talk to you guys. Anything else? If you want to give me your questions in advance for next week, whether it's like relationship based or specifically emotional intelligence based, you can go ahead, send me your questions and I'll try and get to them next week. But that's all I have for you guys. I'm going to go pour a glass of wine and do some work until the wine kicks in. Have a good night.